So I'm concerned about the Board of Supervisors' actions. One of the biggest things that they've done is they voted to terminate our contract with Dominion Voting Systems. They did that earlier this year, and most importantly, they did that without a new system in place. And by system, I don't mean another electronic system. I mean any method by which we can vote. So now for us to get to our next election, they have to do a lot of thinking, planning, implementing action in order to get something that's going to pass muster with the Secretary of State. And I don't know that they can do that. I mean, they've been told it was going to be a very difficult task even before they've made this vote, and they still made it anyway. And so that's concerning to me because I'd like to be able to vote. I've heard that a lot of people have concerns with trusting the voting systems, not just necessarily Dominion, but any of them. A lot of people are concerned about, well, what happens when you put information into a machine, and how do you absolutely know that your vote counted? And I get that, but I feel like that has been something that's been sort of put into their mind by people who have, opportunistic things to gain. I think one of the biggest things is that anybody who has a certain level of distrust with the current system can attend meetings. Kathy Darling Allen has actually hosted workshops to show how her machines work, what the processes are. You can go to the elections office and be an elections observer, and you can actually get confirmation that your vote was counted. There's a lot of little things already built into the system to help somebody who is not sure that it's a fair process. And then there's always, if there's some possibility of voter fraud, there's the availability of an audit. There's a lot of people that have spoken up saying that we need to revamp our situation with the jail. I've heard the presentation from the sheriff saying, we need this wagon wheel, we need a whole new jail. If we build on the current jail, we're just building backwards because it's deteriorating. It's not a good investment. And then, I've also heard people say, well, we just need to, build up the jail. We don't have the money to do a whole new jail, so let's just work with what we got. And then, I've heard some very cynical things along the lines of, why don't we just take the courthouse building when it's empty, throw them in there and see what happens. And obviously, I have my issues with that because that doesn't seem responsible for anybody, including correctional officers. And as an attorney, I go into the jail pretty frequently, and so I see what the sheriff's talking about with respect to there are safety issues that come up for the sheriff's office employees. It's a very depressing place to be. It doesn't seem like it has modern safety features. I've heard of ADA lawsuits because of the way the jail is built, so that's costing us a lot of money. I just don't think that there's an awesome solution because we didn't have enough funding. And so what they were trying to do was get ARPA money, and I forget what ARPA stands for, but they had an entire conversation about it during one of the board meetings. And honestly, the board meetings are an incredible resource for people to get their questions answered if they actually want the answers. So, if you look at minutes online, you can see a lot of decisions that have been made in the past. You can, start by Googling something for finding a news article and then go backwards and look at the actual discussion. So I did that. I looked to find out what discussions they'd had about the money that Chris Street was talking about, this $10 million. And it was related to allocating money from ARPA money to put it towards the jail. And they hadn't decided whether they're gonna do a whole new jail versus just like revamp the current one. And my understanding is they went with the second option. They're going to, instead of building a whole new jail, they're going to just build on what they already have. So I think in order to get people to start to connect a little bit better, we need to start meeting each other on the common ground, get to the point where we start by talking about what we do agree on, and then try to foster some compassion with each other. So if it's gonna be speeches and everybody's dramatic, that's just gonna get contentious and people are gonna yell at each other. But if we start from a more social, quieted down perspective, fewer cameras running, maybe the stakes feel a little lower, and we just try to communicate a positive debate. Try to make friends with somebody that you think you don't agree with, just on some basic level. If we could try to see each other as humans, because it's no matter what I personally think, the people I disagree with are not going to just fall off the face of the planet. They're going to still be citizens. They're still going to have their rights and their need to live in this community. And I wish that for them. I wish them a happy quality of life. Just understanding that people aren't just to be canceled and that everybody needs to learn to live with each other and just to accept that and to treat each other with a little bit more dignity.